3:17 a.m., February 3, 2026. Galveston Bay, Texas. A 62-foot motor yacht sat dark at Pier 9 of the Galveston Yacht Basin. No running lights, no movement on deck, engine cold. 14 U.S. Marshals in tactical gear moved along the dock in 2 teams of 7. Behind them, 4 FBI counterintelligence agents carried a federal arrest warrant, sealed 41 hours earlier by a judge in the Eastern District of Virginia. The target was inside that yacht. He had been running for 9 days. He had crossed 5 states, and on the laptop beside him was classified data that 3 foreign intelligence services would have paid tens of millions of dollars to obtain. His name was Gerald Raymond Haskell, 54 years old, 17 years as a defense contractor with top-secret clearance at Naval Station Norfolk. 6 days ago, the FBI confirmed he had downloaded the complete maintenance vulnerability assessments for 3 Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyers currently deployed near the Strait of Hormuz. The estimated intelligence value of those files, $40 million. The team leader raised his fist. The formation stopped. He gave 2 hand signals. Both teams split toward port and starboard boarding positions. This was the end of a 9-day manhunt spanning 1,800 miles. What led to this moment started with a routine polygraph and a man who decided not to wait for the results. January 24, 2026. Naval Station Norfolk, Virginia. Building 46, the Contractor Security Screening Center. Gerald Haskell arrived at 8:15 a.m. for a periodic reinvestigation polygraph. Standard procedure for personnel holding top-secret clearance. He had taken 4 previous polygraphs over his career. All clean. This was supposed to be the 5th. The examiner was a DIA polygraph specialist named Carla Mendez, 37 years old, 12 years conducting counterintelligence screening exams. She ran Haskell through the standard protocol, lifestyle questions, foreign contact questions, unauthorized disclosure questions. Haskell's physiological responses during the foreign contact section were abnormal. Elevated galvanic skin response. Irregular breathing patterns. Blood pressure spikes on 3 consecutive questions about unauthorized foreign communications. Mendez noted the results but said nothing specific to Haskell. Standard protocol. She told him there were some areas that needed clarification and asked him to return the following morning for a second session. Haskell agreed. He walked out of Building 46 at 10:42 a.m. He drove his 2021 Ford F-150 through the main gate at 10:51 a.m. He never returned. By 6 p.m. that evening, when Haskell missed his afternoon shift at the Northrop Grumman Maintenance Analysis Office on base, his supervisor filed a no-show report. Routine for a missed shift. Not yet alarming. By 8 a.m. on January 25th, when Haskell failed to appear for the follow-up polygraph, Mendez escalated. She flagged the case to the Naval Criminal Investigative Service Resident Office at Norfolk. NCIS ran a preliminary check. Haskell's base access badge had not been used since the previous morning. His company-issued laptop had last connected to the secure network at 7:48 a.m. on January 24th, before the polygraph. But his personal vehicle had been logged leaving the base. He wasn't missing. He had chosen to leave. NCIS contacted the FBI's Counterintelligence Division at the Washington field office. The case was assigned to Supervisory Special Agent Nathan Cross, a 14-year veteran of counterintelligence investigations. Cross had run 7 contractor espionage cases in the previous 4 years. 2 of those cases resulted in convictions under the Espionage Act. Cross activated a digital forensics team to audit Haskell's classified network activity. The results came back within 16 hours. They were worse than anyone anticipated. Between September 2025 and January 2026, Haskell had accessed and downloaded 347 files from the Navy's Ship Maintenance and Modernization Information System. This was a classified database containing technical readiness assessments, structural vulnerability analyses, and maintenance schedules for active duty warships. Specifically, Haskell had pulled complete vulnerability packages for 3 destroyers: the USS Fitzgerald, the USS Howard, and the USS Kidd. All 3 were deployed to the 5th Fleet Area of Operations in the Persian Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz. The files contained exact information about hull integrity deficiencies, propulsion system maintenance gaps, radar calibration schedules, and weapons system downtime windows. For a hostile navy, this was a precise map of when and where each ship was most vulnerable. Cross convened an emergency briefing at the Washington field office on the evening of January 25th. Present were representatives from NCIS, the Defense Counterintelligence and Security Agency, and the U.S. Marshals Service Capital Area Regional Fugitive Task Force. Total personnel in that initial briefing, 11, but the operational details, the full scope of what Haskell had taken, were restricted to 4 people. Cross, his deputy, Special Agent Lisa Huang, the NCIS lead agent, Special Agent Derek Bowen, and the Marshals Task Force Commander, Deputy U.S. Marshal Thomas Garner. 4 people who knew the real damage. The reason for the tight compartment: if Haskell had a handler and that handler had contacts inside the intelligence community, any leak about the scope of the breach could trigger the handler to disappear, or worse, accelerate the transfer of the data to a foreign government. Cross needed to find Haskell fast, but he also needed to understand who Haskell was selling to. The digital forensics team found the first answer on January 26th. On Haskell's work desktop, the unclassified one he used for administrative tasks, they recovered fragments of encrypted Telegram conversations. Haskell had been careless. He had accessed Telegram through a web browser on the work machine on at least 3 occasions, and the browser cache retained partial message fragments. The messages were exchanged with an account registered to a phone number with a UAE country code. The fragments referenced the Norfolk package, technical summaries, and the next delivery window. One fragment, dated November 14, 2025, contained a partial sentence. Confirm receipt of the first batch via the Dubai office. Arsh will handle the transfer. Arsh. A name. The first thread to pull. FBI analysts ran the name through classified databases and liaison channels. Within 36 hours, they had a match. Arshad Qureshi, Pakistani national, 48 years old, listed as the managing director of Meridian Maritime Advisory, a consulting firm registered in the Dubai International Financial Center. Meridian Maritime Advisory had been flagged once before in 2023 by British intelligence during a routine sweep of Dubai-based firms with contracts in the Persian Gulf defense sector. MY6 had noted that Meridian's client list included several entities with indirect ties to Iran's defense procurement network. The flag was low priority. No action was taken. Now that flag carried a different weight. If you're following this case, hit subscribe. The next part of this investigation is where the manhunt turns tactical. Cross had 2 parallel problems. First, find Haskell before he could hand off whatever he hadn't yet delivered. Second, identify the full network behind Meridian Maritime Advisory without alerting Qureshi that the FBI was watching. He split the operation. The FBI's counterintelligence team would handle the network analysis through FISA warrants and international liaison. The U.S. Marshals would handle the manhunt. Deputy Marshal Garner activated the Southeast Regional Fugitive Task Force on January 26 at 4 p.m. Haskell had been off the grid for approximately 54 hours. The Marshals had one critical advantage. Haskell was a defense contractor, not a trained intelligence operative. He knew classified systems. He did not know how to disappear. The first break came from banking records. Haskell's personal bank account showed no activity since January 23rd. But a financial analyst on Garner's team ran Haskell's name through a wider database and found something. A prepaid Visa debit card purchased at a Walmart in Norfolk on January 10th, 2 weeks before the polygraph. Purchased with cash but registered online using an email address that Haskell had used for a long-dormant personal account. A careless mistake. One that would cost him. The prepaid card had been used 3 times since January 24th. First, a gas station on Interstate 81 near Staunton, Virginia. Timestamp: January 24th, 6:47 p.m. Haskell had headed southwest immediately after leaving the base. Second, a pilot truck stop on Interstate 40 near Knoxville, Tennessee. January 25th, 2:12 a.m. Third, a Shell station on Interstate 30 near Texarkana, Texas. January 25th, 3:38 p.m. The trajectory was clear. He was heading to Texas. Garner deployed a team to Knoxville to pull surveillance footage from the pilot truck stop. The footage confirmed Haskell's F-150 at Pump 7 at 2:09 a.m. He was alone. He appeared unhurried. He filled the tank, went inside, purchased coffee and a burner phone. A prepaid track phone, visible in the footage in a plastic blister pack. That burner phone became the second tracking vector. The Marshals obtained an emergency pen register order from a federal magistrate in Knoxville, authorizing real-time collection of the phone's cell tower connection data. But they needed the phone number first. An analyst cross-referenced the truck stop's point-of-sale records with the timestamp from the surveillance footage. The track phone's serial number was on the receipt. From the serial number, the carrier provided the assigned phone number. By 9 p.m. on January 26th, the Marshals had a live ping on Haskell's burner. The phone was connecting to towers in East Texas, moving south. Meanwhile, Cross's counterintelligence team was building the espionage case. The FISA court authorized surveillance of the Telegram account linked to Qureshi's UAE phone number. Within 48 hours, the FBI intercepted a critical message, sent January 25th at 11:17 p.m. Eastern Time, less than 37 hours after Haskell fled Norfolk. The message, translated from a mix of English and Urdu, read, "Our friend is traveling. Expected arrival 2 to 3 days. The vessel is prepared at Galveastston. Full package delivery. Confirm the second payment is ready." Galveston, a vessel. Full package delivery. Haskell wasn't just running from the polygraph. He was running to a handoff point. Cross pulled Coast Guard records for Galveston. A yacht named the Zephyr Tide, a 62-foot Sunseeker Manhattan, was registered to a Cayman Islands LLC called Oceanic Meridian Holdings. The word Meridian again. The yacht had arrived at the Galveston Yacht Basin on January 18th, 6 days before Haskell disappeared. Someone had been planning this for weeks. The FBI obtained a second FISA warrant for surveillance on the Zephyr Tide. A Coast Guard intelligence team, operating under the guise of a routine port security inspection, placed monitoring devices on the pier near the yacht's berth on January 27th. They confirmed the yacht was occupied. At least 2 individuals had been observed on board over the previous 3 days. Neither matched Haskell's description. Garner's team tracked Haskell's burner phone south through East Texas on January 27th and 28th. The phone pinged towers along Highway 59 toward Houston. Then it went dark. Haskell had either turned it off or destroyed it, but the Marshals had anticipated this. They had already deployed forward teams to the Houston-Galveston corridor. 4 two-person surveillance units, 2 positioned near the Galveston Yacht Basin, 2 mobile in the greater Houston area covering the likely approach routes. On January 29th, the prepaid debit card was used again. A motel on the southern edge of Houston, the Bayou Motor Lodge on State Highway 3, $67 per night. Haskell checked in under a false name, Richard Calloway, but used the same prepaid card. The card was flagged instantly. The Marshals had the motel under surveillance within 90 minutes. They did not move in. Garner made the decision to wait. Haskell was close to the handoff point, and the FBI wanted to observe the exchange. If they arrested Haskell at the motel, they would lose the chance to identify and apprehend the people on the yacht. This was the tension at the core of the operation. The Marshals wanted the fugitive. The FBI wanted the network. Both objectives required patience, but each day Haskell remained free was another day he could transfer classified data. Cross and Garner agreed on a compromise. The Marshals would maintain constant surveillance on Haskell. The FBI would monitor the yacht. The arrest would happen at the moment of the handoff, catching both sides in the act. 4 days passed. January 30th through February 2nd, Haskell stayed at the Bayou Motor Lodge. Surveillance teams observed him leaving the motel twice daily, once in the morning, once in the afternoon. Both trips were to a public library 3 miles away. He used the library's public computers. The FBI's cyber team, working with the library's IT infrastructure under warrant, captured his sessions. Haskell was communicating through a dead-drop email system. He and his handler shared a single email account. Instead of sending emails, they saved drafts. Messages that were never sent but could be read by anyone with the login credentials. A technique popularized by Al-Qaeda in the early 2000s and still used because it leaves no sender-receiver trail in email headers. The draft messages confirmed the handoff plan. February 3rd, 3 a.m., Pier 9, Galveston Yacht Basin. Haskell would board the Zephyr Tide, deliver the laptop containing the classified files, and receive a final payment. The messages referenced a total compensation of $1.2 million, of which Haskell had already received $400,000 in cryptocurrency through a series of Bitcoin transactions routed through mixing services. $1.2 million for data, worth $40 million on the intelligence market. Haskell had sold his career, his freedom, and his country's operational security for roughly 3 cents on the dollar. If this case is making you think about the security gaps in defense contracting, drop a comment below. Cases like this one expose problems that don't get fixed quietly. The FBI also identified the 2 occupants of the yacht. One was Rashid Memon, a 39-year-old British-Pakistani dual national with previous employment at a Dubai shipping logistics company. No criminal record, no previous intelligence flags. He appeared to be the operational handler, the person who would receive the data and transport it out of the country. The second was a woman named Layla Nasri, 41, an Iranian national with Canadian permanent residency. She held a degree in electrical engineering from the University of Tehran and had worked for 3 years at a defense electronics firm in Isfahan before emigrating to Canada in 2019. Canadian intelligence had no file on her. She appeared to be the technical expert, the person who would verify that the classified data was authentic and complete before the payment was released. The presence of an Iranian technical specialist on the yacht changed the calculus of the investigation. This was not freelance espionage. This was a state-directed intelligence operation with Iranian fingerprints, routed through Pakistani intermediaries in Dubai to maintain deniability. Cross briefed the director of the FBI's Counterintelligence Division on February 1st. The director authorized expanded resources. The Coast Guard deployed an armed cutter offshore from Galveston Bay with orders to prevent the yacht from departing. The FBI positioned a tactical team at the Galveston Yacht Basin. The Marshals maintained their coverage on Haskell. Total personnel deployed for the February 3rd takedown. 47 federal agents and officers across 4 agencies. February 2nd, 2026. The day before the planned arrest, a complication. At 6:14 p.m., Haskell left the Bayou Motor Lodge and drove not toward the library but northeast, toward Interstate 10. Surveillance followed at a distance. Haskell drove for 43 minutes to a storage facility in Pasadena, Texas. Store all self-storage on Spencer Highway. He used a key to open Unit 217. He was inside for 11 minutes. When he emerged, he was carrying a black hard-sided Pelican case, approximately 30 inches long. He placed it in the bed of his truck, covered it with a moving blanket, and drove back to the motel. The Marshals' surveillance team reported the stop immediately. Garner contacted Cross. Neither knew what was in the Pelican case. The concern was obvious. If Haskell had a weapon, the takedown scenario changed. Cross authorized a covert entry into Unit 217 under the existing FISA warrant. An FBI evidence response team arrived at 2 a.m. on February 3rd, 1 hour before the planned yacht arrest. They opened the unit with the facility manager's master key. Inside, a second laptop, a Samsung Galaxy tablet, 4 external hard drives, and a stack of printed technical drawings, approximately 300 pages, bearing classification markings of secret//no foreign. Haskell had been running a backup archive. The Pelican case he had taken was likely the primary delivery package for the yacht handoff. But this storage unit contained copies of everything he had stolen, and possibly more than the FBI had identified from the network audit. The evidence response team photographed everything, cataloged the items, and resealed the unit. They did not remove anything. The arrest was 55 minutes away. 3 a.m., February 3rd, 2026. Haskell's Ford F-150 arrived at the Galveston Yacht Basin at 2:48 a.m. He parked in the marina lot. He sat in the truck for 6 minutes. At 2:54 a.m., he stepped out carrying the Pelican case and a backpack. He walked down the dock toward Pier 9. The Marshals surveillance team tracked him from the parking lot. The FBI's tactical team was positioned at 3 points around the pier, 2 on the dock, 1 on an adjacent vessel. Coast Guard personnel monitored from a Zodiac inflatable boat approximately 200 yards offshore. At 3:02 a.m., a figure appeared on the yacht's deck. Mayman. He raised a hand in greeting. Haskell reached the yacht and handed the Pelican case up to Memon. Memon took it below deck. At 3:06 a.m., Haskell stepped aboard the yacht. He descended into the main cabin. Through the surveillance audio, agents heard a woman's voice, Nasiri, say, "Let me see the files first." 3 minutes passed. Then Nasiri's voice again. "These are the readiness assessments? All 3 ships?" Haskell. "Everything. Burke class. Fitzgerald, Howard, Kidd. Maintenance windows, vulnerability reports, propulsion diagnostics. It's all there." That was the confirmation Cross needed. At 3:11 a.m., Garner gave the order. The 2 dockside teams moved simultaneously. 4 marshals approached from the stern, 3 from the bow. FBI agents covered the pier exits. The Coast Guard Zodiac moved to block any water escape route. Deputy Marshal James Acosta was first aboard. He descended the cabin stairs with his weapon drawn and announced, "U.S. Marshals, federal warrant, everyone on the ground, now." Haskell did not resist. He was face down on the cabin floor within 4 seconds of the breach. Memon attempted to reach for a satellite phone on the galley counter. A marshal grabbed his arm and forced him down. Nasiri was seated at a table with the laptop open in front of her. She raised her hands without being told. The arrest took 47 seconds from breach to full control of all 3 subjects. On the table in front of Nasiri, Haskell's laptop opened to a directory of classified files. The file names visible on the screen matched the documents identified in the FBI's network audit. On Nasiri's personal laptop, open beside it, agents found what appeared to be a verification checklist, a document in Farsi listing specific technical parameters she had been instructed to confirm. That checklist would later be identified by CIA analysts as matching a known Iranian military intelligence format, used for validating stolen technical data. It was direct evidence of state sponsorship. In Haskell's backpack, $22,000 in cash, 3 prepaid phones, 2 USB drives containing encrypted data, and a one-way plane ticket from Houston to Mexico City dated February 4th. He had planned to deliver the data and leave the country the following day. In the yacht's safe, $180,000 in $100 bills, and a document folder containing banking instructions for a cryptocurrency wallet in Haskell's alias name. The wallet balance at the time of the arrest, 14.7 Bitcoin, worth approximately $620,000 at February 2026 prices. Haskell's total compensation for the espionage, approximately $1.22 million, of which $400,000 had already been received in prior cryptocurrency payments. $180,000 was in cash aboard the yacht, and $620,000 was in the crypto wallet. The FBI transported all 3 subjects to the federal detention facility in Houston. Haskell was processed under seal. His arrest was not made public. Memon and Nasiri were held on material witness warrants while the FBI sought formal espionage charges. The sealed complaint, filed in the Eastern District of Virginia on February 5, 2026, charged Haskell with 2 counts of gathering or delivering defense information under 18 U.S.C. 794-EA, 1 count of conspiracy to commit espionage, and 1 count of unlawful retention of classified documents. Each espionage count carried a potential sentence of life in prison or death. Memon was charged with conspiracy to commit espionage and acting as an unregistered agent of a foreign power. Nasseri was charged with the same counts plus an additional charge of material support for a foreign intelligence operation. The storage unit in Pasadena was seized on February 3rd under a separate warrant. The contents were transported to the FBI laboratory in Quantico for analysis. The full inventory: 2 laptops, 1 tablet, 4 external hard drives containing a combined 2.3 terabytes of data, and 312 printed pages of classified technical drawings. The network audit that followed took 6 weeks. FBI analysts working with the Navy's Cybersecurity Division and the NSA determined that Haskell had accessed files beyond the 3 destroyer vulnerability packages. He had also downloaded logistics schedules for carrier strike group movements, spare parts supply chain data that revealed maintenance timelines for deployed vessels, and communication system configuration files for the 5th Fleet's tactical data network. The total volume of classified material Haskell had compromised: over 4,100 individual files spanning a 4-month period. The intelligence value, what a hostile nation could extract from this data in terms of operational advantage, was assessed at significantly more than the initial $40 million estimate. Some analysts placed it higher. The exact revised figure remains classified. The investigation into Meridian Maritime Advisory continued through February and March 2026. Working through the CIA's liaison channel with MI6, the FBI determined that the Dubai firm had been operating as a procurement front for Iran's Ministry of Intelligence and Security since at least 2022. Arshad Qureshi, the firm's managing director, had brokered at least 2 previous intelligence acquisitions, one involving stolen sonar technology from a South Korean defense contractor in 2023, and another involving radar component specifications from a British firm in 2024. Qureshi was not in the United States. He remained in Dubai beyond the reach of a U.S. arrest warrant. The UAE does not have an extradition treaty with the United States. As of April 2026, Qureshi has not been apprehended, though an Interpol Red Notice has been issued. This is one of the unresolved threads. The middleman who arranged the deal is still free. The Pentagon's response was immediate but largely invisible to the public. On February 10, 2026, the Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence and Security issued a classified directive revising polygraph protocols for defense contractors with access to ship maintenance databases. The new protocol required that contractors flagged during polygraph screening be placed on immediate administrative leave with suspended network access, effective before they leave the screening facility. The gap that Haskell exploited was simple. Under the previous protocol, a flagged polygraph result triggered a review process that took 24 to 72 hours before any access restrictions were applied. Haskell walked out of his polygraph, drove off the base, and had a full day's head start before anyone checked whether he still had classified data. That gap no longer exists, at least not in that specific form. A second directive issued March 1, 2026, expanded continuous evaluation monitoring for all contractors holding top-secret clearance at naval installations. This included automated financial surveillance, real-time flagging of cryptocurrency transactions, cash purchases above $3,000, and new financial accounts opened by cleared personnel. Haskell's cryptocurrency payments, totaling over $1 million across 7 months, had gone undetected because the previous monitoring system only flagged traditional bank transactions. Bitcoin transfers through mixing services fell outside the automated detection parameters. That blind spot is now closed. The 3 destroyers whose vulnerability data was compromised, the Fitzgerald, the Howard, and the Kidd, were quietly rotated out of the 5th Fleet deployment, ahead of schedule. The Navy did not publicly announce the reason for the rotation. Maintenance protocols for all 3 vessels were revised to eliminate the specific vulnerabilities detailed in the stolen files. The cost of those emergency maintenance revisions, an estimated $67 million. Paid because one contractor decided to sell technical data for a fraction of what it cost the Navy to fix the exposure. Haskell's arraignment took place on February 19, 2026, in the Eastern District of Virginia. before Magistrate Judge Teresa Buchanan. He entered a plea of not guilty. He was denied bail. The government argued and the judge agreed that Haskell posed an extreme flight risk. He had already fled once and had a one-way ticket to Mexico City in his possession at arrest. His defense attorney, a federal public defender named Michael Reeves, filed a motion to suppress the evidence obtained from the telegram message intercepts, arguing the FISA warrant was overly broad. The motion was denied on March 14, 2026. Memon cooperated. Within 2 weeks of his arrest, he agreed to a proffer session with the FBI. He provided details about Meridian Maritime Advisory's operational structure, Qureshi's role as a talent spotter for potential sources inside Western defense establishments, and the financial routing mechanisms used to pay recruited assets. Memon confirmed that Haskell was not the only source Meridian had cultivated. There were others. He provided 2 names, one in the United Kingdom, one in Australia, both defense industry employees whom Qureshi had approached through professional conferences and LinkedIn networking. The FBI shared this intelligence with MI5 and the Australian Security Intelligence Organization through the Five Eyes partnership. Whether those leads resulted in arrests has not been publicly disclosed. Nasseri did not cooperate. She invoked her right to silence and requested consular access. The Iranian government denied she was an intelligence operative and claimed she was a private engineering consultant. Her trial is scheduled for July 2026 in the Eastern District of Virginia. Like this video if you want to see the sentencing and trial outcomes covered when they happen. As of April 2026, Haskell remains in federal custody at the Alexandria Detention Center. His trial is set for September 2026. If convicted on all counts, he faces a maximum sentence of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. The death penalty remains a theoretical option under the statute, though federal prosecutors have not indicated whether they will seek it. The $620,000 in cryptocurrency has been frozen by federal order. The $180,000 in cash has been seized. The yacht Zephyr Tide has been forfeited to the government. Haskell's personal assets, his home in Virginia Beach, his truck, his retirement accounts, have been frozen pending the outcome of the case. The total recovered value of Haskell's espionage payments, approximately $1.02 million. The remaining $200,000, the difference between his total compensation and what has been recovered, was apparently spent over the 7 months of the operation. On what exactly the FBI has not disclosed. The broader question remains. Haskell was a 17-year veteran. He held top-secret clearance. He had passed 4 polygraphs. He had no criminal record, no history of financial distress that appeared in his credit reports, no foreign travel that raised flags. The system that was supposed to catch people like Haskell, the clearance investigation process, the continuous evaluation program, the insider threat detection systems, did not catch him. A polygraph did. And by the time the polygraph flagged him, he already had the data and a plan to leave. The Defense Counterintelligence and Security Agency processes approximately 2.6 million background investigations per year for cleared personnel and contractors. Of those, the number flagged for potential espionage indicators is not publicly known. But the Haskell case demonstrates a specific failure mode. A contractor who was patient, who moved slowly over months, who used encrypted communications and cryptocurrency, and who had an extraction plan prepared before anyone asked the first question. The ship vulnerability data he sold is now in Iranian hands. That assumption drives the Navy's remediation efforts. The specific tactical advantages that data provided to Iran's naval forces, the ability to time provocations in the Strait of Hormuz when specific U.S. vessels were at reduced readiness, cannot be erased by reclassifying files or rotating deployments. That damage is permanent. Haskell is in custody, the data is not. 3 Arleigh Burke-class destroyers were exposed. 1 contractor walked out of a polygraph session and nearly made it to a yacht. $67 million in emergency maintenance. A Dubai firm that still operates. An intermediary who still walks free. And a vetting system that now includes rules it didn't have 7 months ago. The arrest is sealed. The trial is pending. The network, as far as the FBI has confirmed publicly, extends further than one man and one yacht in Galveston Bay. How much further remains an open case file?